Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Unity Palo Alto Live. It's such a blessing to be here with you. Thank you so much for bringing us into your home wherever you are in the world today. You are in the right place at the right time right now. We'd like to thank, or actually say Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there, all of the grandmothers, the great-grandmothers, any mother-in-laws, any caregivers, anybody who plays that motherly role. We're so grateful for you, and so we bless you on this beautiful day. Unity is a worldwide movement of prayer, publishing, and education. And wherever you are in your spiritual journey, you are welcome here. I'm Reverend John Riley. I'm the senior minister at Unity Palo Alto Spiritual Center. And it's just a joy to be here with you today. We've got Deborah Winters, our music director, will be our soloist. Casey Wicker is our licensed Unity teacher, is our platform leader today. And we're blessed to be with you today. We're so grateful that you are with us. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Deborah in just a moment to lead our opening song. I just have to click a few buttons here. Amen and amen. And so it is, sealed in truth. Good morning and welcome. My name is Reverend John Riley, and it's just such a blessing to be with you here this morning on this beautiful Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day, everyone, to all of you beautiful mothers out there, anybody who plays a motherly role. We're so grateful for you in our lives. Now, this month we have been focusing on this idea of beingness. That's our theme for the month of May. The idea of stepping into that true essence of who we are, stepping into that joy, that love, that harmony, that peace that we can bring, that compassion that we can bring to the world, that higher self. Now, in Unity, we call that the Christ potential within us. You may call it your higher consciousness. You may call it your better self. Your divine spark, or that divine light that's within you, that divine energy that flows through you, that flows as you. That's the whole point of this month, is to really see if we can step into that and to live from that beingness that's within us, live from that divine flow of life that is always a part of us. As Casey said at the beginning of our service, there was only one presence and one power, and that one presence and one power is within every person in all creation. It flows in, through, and as us, and we are bringing that light, that love, that inspiration into the world. And we're doing that by embracing our beingness. Now we're in this is the second week of a 4-part series where we're looking at the beautiful Beatitudes. Now the Beatitudes are a prose poem, really, that kicked off Jesus' Sermon on the Mount, as the authors of Matthew would describe it. And it's really a beautiful poem, and it's not so much a set of statements about who we're blessed, or what you need to do, but more of a statement of kind of overarching this idea of the teachings attributed to Jesus, overarching the idea of us as spiritual beings and really living into that beingness. Last week we began with the first beatitude, and that was, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." Now we're taking these beatitudes as if they were a spiritual tool for us, and using them as a spiritual inquiry, and using them as meditation. So you have the opportunity to take all of these statements within. Take them into your time of prayer and meditation. Take them into your time of discernment to really see, what is it saying to you? How are you living it? What does it mean to you? How can you bring that to life in your world? Now, we talked about how last night the idea of poor is not so much being, or poor in spirit, not being sad or frustrated, but rather allowing that ego side of us, that pride in us, to just take a step back. Allowing ourselves to let that divine consciousness emerge within us. Let it flow more freely through us. And so when we're poor in spirit, we're allowing our ego, that sense of self, that sense of pride that wants to be in control all the time. We're letting it take a back seat so that it exists and expresses itself in service to this higher consciousness. Now, as we go through this process, I invite you to really come up with your own version of each beatitude. Come up with your own affirmation, if you will. This is the one that I shared last week. And what I did was I switched it from blessed are those, because I want to make it personal to each one of us. I want to make it really alive for you and alive for me. So I changed it to blessed am I, or I am blessed. I am blessed by letting my ego express in service to spirit. For mine is the expression of the Christ consciousness. So as we take that into our time of meditation and discernment, we can see that, just letting ego take a step aside a little bit. Play a side role here for just a moment. It's okay, you'll still get to play, but we're going to play under different rules, different set of rules. We're going to play under a set of rules that are focused on this divine energy and expressing that divine energy in our life. The second beatitude is blessing those who mourn. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. In mourning, it's the idea of being able to be real with your emotions, to be present to your emotions. Instead of stuffing your emotions down or saying, I can't feel fear, I can't feel afraid, I can't feel mourning, it's okay to allow those emotions to be. It's the only way, in fact, that we can allow the emotion to flow through us without stuffing it down and creating a powder keg within us, if you will. So we allow that emotion to just flow free-flowly. And when we allow the emotion to flow, we're able to turn our attention back to spirit. We're able to return our energy and focus on that loving presence and allow that energy of spirit to flow through us. And so the affirmation that we created is, I am blessed by accepting my fears, feelings, and foibles. It's that sense of inner vulnerability. So I am blessed when I accept my fears, feelings, and foibles, for I experience self-compassion and self-acceptance. Now, these two Beatitudes really set the foundation for us for transformation, because that's really what we're here for, is to transform ourselves in this experience of knowing our oneness with God, transform ourselves in knowing our expression of this Christ potential, transform ourselves in being able to live just a little bit kinder, just a little bit brighter, just to allow those feelings to come up just a little bit more. And these two Beatitudes really set the stage for that. And so now we come upon our third Beatitude. And the third Beatitude are blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Now, it's important to take a new look and a new understanding of this word meek, because today, when we talk about meek, we have this idea, or this belief that it's somebody who's small, it's somebody who's weak, it's somebody who, is just there to serve other people, who doesn't have a will of their own, may not stand up for themselves, a kind of a pushover. That scenario? Well, that's really not the spiritual meaning of meek, and it's not the meaning of meek that Jesus was talking about, I believe. Meekness is not weakness. Meekness is not servility. Rather, meekness is spiritual strength, rightly directed to give us a sense and a state of receptivity to our true nature, to our beingness. So meekness, again, it falls in line with having our ego just take a sidestep to be humble, to be gentle. Another translation in the Aramaic for meekness, meek, of course, was translated from, I believe it was Greek, but in the original language of Jesus, Aramaic, it could be gentleness. So blessed are those who are gentle with themselves. Blessed are those who are gentle with others. Blessed are those that when we make mistakes, when we, cause something to go in error, or when something happens that we don't like, we're not throwing ourselves on the pit of despair. We're not throwing ourselves into the sense of shame and grief, and throwing ourselves into guilt. Rather, we're gentle with ourselves and saying, okay, here's where I'm at. In this day, in this moment. Whenever we're on this spiritual journey, whenever we want to try and transform ourselves, that's when we start to get into this this shame cycle. That's when we start to compare ourselves with the luminaries of the world, with the Jesuses or the Buddhas or the Thich Nhat Hanhs or His Holiness the Dalai Lama or Gandhi or Dr. Martin Luther King or John Riley. Anyway, when we start to, compare ourselves to these luminaries, we see a big delta, at least in our perception. We're not there to experience them, but our perception is this big delta. I've got so far to go. And it's in that spiritual transition, that transformation that we tend to, we gain a little bit, but then we look at the gap that we perceive. And that's a self-perceiving thing. It's not reality. Get that, know that, right? We're putting that lens upon ourselves. We're putting that limitation or that bar, we're putting that on ourselves. And so if you can just be a little gentler with yourself, because it's not the bar that matters, because I guarantee you, when you reach that bar, and we do, there are times in the days when we'll reach it. There's times in our lives where we'll be more consistent in reaching it, but it doesn't end there. So when we get there, we realize there's more transformation because God is infinite. God, this infinite supply of divine love is there, and our infinite potential is so great that every moment when we get there a little bit closer, then we're able to, when we see it a little bit more, then we can see that there's more to it. And so our meekness, our humbleness, our gentleness allows us to know that it's not the journey. It's not the bar. It's not the destination that's important in spiritual transformation. It's the steps. It's the little steps that we make. It's how I'm showing up just in this present moment. Because transformation happens in the present moment. Transformation isn't on a schedule. It's not like a bus schedule where you get there and wait for the bus and the bus is 10 minutes late. Transformation isn't 10 minutes late. You're 10 minutes late. Because transformation is a here and now essence of life. We're always going through it. There's a pull within us. And so our meekness is our spiritual power that comes through personal power, that does not come through personal prowess, but rather a receptivity to the divine power that's within you. A receptivity to that divine essence, the flow of life, that radiant light that's already within you. So meekness, gentleness, humbleness opens a way for us to know that just a little bit more, to see that potential within us just a little bit more, and to live with this attitude to gain control of ourselves and our thoughts. And when we gain control of our thoughts, then we have the ability to change how we approach the world. I think there's lots of opportunities to practice this particular beatitude. Things have changed a little bit, at least for now. In the grocery store, I used to go to the grocery store, and then when I was ready to stand in line, I'd play this game where I try to pick the right lane. And of course, you never change lanes. Don't ever change lanes, because when you change lanes, then you're there for another 20 minutes. So, but you got to pick the right lane. Well, now, at least in my local grocery store, there's only one lane. There's only one row. And then you go to the next available cash register when they call you. It's a completely different way of being. Let alone that, there's a line outside the door. What a great way, what a great opportunity to be gentle with ourselves and to be gentle with other people. If they're not wearing a mask, gently remind them instead of barking at them. When they're standing 5 feet away from you instead of 6, have a little compassion and maybe smile. Even though we're wearing our masks, there's one thing I've learned, is that people can still see the smile through your eyes. So here's an example. I was in one of those big wholesale stores. And this was, I didn't have a mask at the time, The masks were on order. I didn't have a bandana. So I went into the drawer and brought out a ski mask. It was like, one of those things that just goes across you. It was thick, double-sided. I mean, this was a ski mask that I would wear if it's pouring down snowing, right? So there's nothing getting through there. But like Batman, when I'm skiing, I only work in black and very dark gray. So here I am with my black mask, and I had my black cap on, my baseball cap on. I was wearing a very dark gray sweater. I think I might have even had my sunglasses on. Probably not in the store. But what was interesting is I'm walking around in this outfit. People were kind of keeping an eye on me. The store people who worked there were kind of like, and people who were walking by would see me and kind of veer off in the other. I mean, I felt like ripping it off and say, "Hey, I'm a minister. I'm okay, man." But then I realized, I got better masks. I got masks that look more inviting. I have masks that, have flowers on them. And I make a point to smile when I'm wearing my mask. I make a point to make eye contact with people. And when I make eye contact with people, I say good morning or hi or how's it going, just to create a little connection. And what I've noticed is that when you create that connection with your eyes, people open up. So it's an opportunity. What this beatitude is calling for me is an opportunity for me to be gentle with myself so that I can be gentle with other people. There are plenty of opportunities when, things have changed. We've had a big shift and change in our experience of Unity Palo Alto in our spiritual center. And there's a big shift and change in how we, connect with each other. And if we can be just a little more gentle with each other in terms of how we do that or what we would like to do, what we would like to see happen, I think it will make the whole experience that we're going through just a little bit easier, a little bit more lighter. So what would your life be like if you lived more from a state of receptivity of your beingness? Lived from that meekness. What would your life be like if you lived less resistant to what's going on, and more gentle with yourself and others? What would your life be like if you let go of all of that and just let God be God in you? Let that divine flow of life, love, and wisdom express as you. Because that's our true purpose, I believe. That's why we're here, is to know that oneness and to express it more fully. Now, this leads us naturally to the next beatitude, the fourth beatitude. Because the fourth beatitude, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Now, righteousness is another one of those terms that is fully loaded in our society. Righteousness is not, from a spiritual perspective, righteousness is not self-righteous, where we think we're right and we're justifying whatever we're doing for a moral purpose because I just know I'm right. It's not the same as doing the right thing. It's not the same as feeling morally justified, but rather righteousness is aligning our thoughts with that divine wisdom, aligning our thoughts with divine intelligence, so that we are thinking right thoughts, so that we use out the mighty power of our thinking, the mighty power of our mind, to create an experience of life that we would love to live, create an experience of life that others would love to live. So blessed are those who hunger and thirst for that right thinking. That really launches us on this path of, well, what's right for me? What does this mean to me? And how can I take one more step along this spiritual journey to get one more inkling of how it might be different for me and how it might change my life if I just simply accept it? If I just simply allow that loving presence to work through me, allow these teachings of this master teacher, Jesus, to work for us, instead of throwing the baby out with the bathwater. What would life be like if I hungered and thirsted for that expression more and more every day? Now, the most important part is to remember, I think, that even though we are going along that journey, there will be times when, my shadow twin Skippy will step in. My shadow ego will step in and take over. There will be times when, I become upset, or I become angry, or I become defensive, or I become snarkastic. I have a former PhD in snarkasm. I've taken that diploma and recycled it, and yet it still comes up. So there are times when we're going to get there, when we're going to slip back into that. And it's that time to simply don't get into the blame, shame, guilt cycle. Just simply allow yourself some self-compassion and rewrite your thoughts. Move your thoughts back into the right direction. Align your thoughts better with that divine presence, that essence that you truly are. Right thinking shifts our underlying beliefs of blame, shame, and guilt. If you want good health, then think healthy thoughts and healthy attitudes. And when you think healthy thoughts and healthy attitudes, you begin to express that. You begin to practice that in your world. Everything begins first in mind. Every outer expression of our life begins first in our experience, in our thoughts and our beliefs. And when we shift those thoughts and beliefs, we can have a completely different experience. And we can bring forth a greater sense of our beingness. If you want good relationships, think harmonious thoughts. If you want good finances and success, be open to divine inspiration and use the power of your faith and move your feet. These aren't magical things that are going to happen. We need to put in the work. We need to put in the effort to be righteous in our thinking, to have right thinking, to align our thoughts with that divine presence. And when you do, life changes. You begin to shift that cycle. There's this cycle that I wrote down. I call it, let me find it here. It's the blame, shame, and guilt cycle. You blame because you have shame within you. You have shame because you feel guilty within you. You feel guilty because there's some belief, some myth, some message that's lying within you that says you're not enough. That says you're not good enough. That says you're not worthy enough. That says you're not whole enough. And those error thoughts keep us from living into our beingness. They keep us and they prevent us, and what they draw forth is an experience of not enough. They draw forth an experience of lack. They draw forth within us an experience of not being worthy. Blessed are those, happy are those who strive to align their thinkingness with their beingness. I just made that up. No, I didn't. I wrote that. I made that up earlier. Blessed are those, happy are those who strive to align their thinkingness with their beingness. And so my affirmation that I came up for these two Beatitudes, the first one, blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. I am blessed when I am gentle with what is, for I am at peace, mind, body, and spirit. I am blessed when I am gentle with what is, for I am at peace, mind, body, and spirit. And for the fourth Beatitude, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. I am blessed when I yearn for an experience of divine, for I am the light expressing. I am blessed when I yearn for an experience of the divine, for I am light expressing. Now, many people have asked, or a few people have asked, if I could send them these affirmations, and I will do that absolutely. I'm also going to put them in our email and on our website, so you'll in our social media, so you'll be able to find them. But more importantly, I think, are not so much the affirmations that have come up for me that are alive in me, but what affirmations are alive in you. I would love to hear your affirmations for these Beatitudes. I'd love to hear how you have taken them and into your time of discernment, into your time of contemplation, and come up with words that are right for you, that are really meaningful for you. Because that's where the true power of this lies. Not in the minister talking about it, not in the words that I'm saying, even though I thought thinkingness with their beingness was pretty cool, but in how you think about it, how you bring it into your life. Because that's when it's gone from an intellectual exercise for you and it's gotten into your bones. It's become a part of who you are. So allow it to become a part of who you are. And then email me. Send me your Beatitudes. I'd love to share them with our spiritual community. I'd love to share them with the world because we are now worldwide. So bring on your Beatitudes, and we'll talk about them at the end of the month. I would love that. Now, if you ever find yourselves in a place where you're stuck, like this whole idea of righteousness, if you can't quite align your thoughts, and it'll happen. It's not a matter of if, all right? It's a matter of when. It's a matter of when my shadow twin Skippy comes out instead of the nicer me. All you have to do is really work backwards from that point, from the Beatitudes. So when you're feeling that, go back to number 3. I am blessed when I am gentle with what is, for I am at peace in mind, body, and spirit. I am blessed by accepting my fears, feelings, and foibles, for I experience self-compassion and self-acceptance. I am blessed by letting go my ego. I am blessed by letting my ego express in service to spirit, for mine is the expression of the Christ consciousness. Let's take that into our time of meditation and prayer. In this moment, I invite you to simply take a nice, deep, cleansing breath. I invite you to close your eyes if that feels comfortable, or simply soften your gaze as we turn from an experience of the outer to an experience of the inner. I invite you to feel your feet on the floor and feel yourself grounded into the earth. Feel the energy of the earth flowing upward through your legs as you relax and as you breathe into this present moment. With a breath, I invite you to allow your hands to be free, to be open, to be ready to receive. Feel the energy flowing through your hands, flowing through your arms, as we begin to breathe into our heart space. Feel the gentle rhythm of our breath as our lungs expand, as our heart expands, like the rhythm of the ocean, just gently yearning for expression, gently lapping along the shore, flowing in and flowing out. There is that gentle yearning within you, that hunger, that thirst for a greater expression of your divine potential. And when we're gentle with ourselves, we allow it to flow with ease and grace. With each breath, allow that energy to flow from you, to flow through you, to flow as you. Feel that radiant vibrant of spirit emanating from your heart. Feel it expand into this room, wherever you're at. Allow it to enfold you and expand outward to bless the world. For when we simply yearn for that expression, we are truly a blessing to the world. You are truly the good news in the world. And so let us breathe into this present moment, expressing that divine energy in the stillness, in the silence. And as we breathe into this present moment, from this expression and experience of the divine, from this knowing our oneness, we allow that energy to flow from us. And in that energy, we apply our prayer practice. We apply our prayer treatment. We let the great energy of our thinking express at the highest level by affirming, I am blessed when I yearn for an experience of the divine, for I am light expressing. I am blessed by letting my ego express in service to spirit, for mine is the expression of the Christ consciousness. I am blessed by accepting my fears, feelings, and foibles, for I experience self-compassion and self-acceptance. I am blessed as I am gentle with what is, for I am at peace in mind, body, and spirit. And for this truth, for this spiritual knowing, we are joyfully, joyfully grateful. We are richly, richly blessed. And we say, thank you, thank you, thank you, Spirit. And so it is. Amen.